historic launch of the Humanities Institute at Wake Forest University. My name is Sally Barber. I'm in French and Francophone Studies in Romance Languages, and this semester I'm Interim Director of Women's and Gender Studies. This afternoon I'm especially happy to welcome you as part of the faculty committee of the Humanities Institute. As you see on your program, you've all got your program and your registration. You see that we're going to be having a lot of events this weekend. I think that will invite us to think about and reflect upon the humanities at the university and beyond. And we are going to start today. It's my privilege, actually, to present to you a panel of Wake Forest students. These students are here not for extra credit. They're not here for some kind of research project in some class. They're here because their faculty, their professors sent out a call and they answered. And I think it's very impressive from what I've seen there. I've seen them thinking on email, and they've been thinking about a lot of these questions. Of course, student-faculty engagement is at the heart of what we do at the university as teachers, scholars. And an important part of what students take away from a liberal arts education is the ability to make connections between what and how they learn and the larger world, and for them to think about their role in that world with what they have learned here in the liberal arts and in the humanities. So the launch is going to begin with the panel of our students who are going to share and discuss their academic experiences as well as their vision for the future of the humanities at Wake Forest. It's my privilege also to introduce the moderator, also on the Faculty Executive Committee, David Phillips, who will introduce the panelists. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Barber. I am David Phillips. I'm a member of the Faculty Executive Committee of the Humanities Institute and a faculty member of the Academic Program in Humanities at Wake Forest. We are truly delighted to be starting our inaugural weekend with a panel discussion by a group of students that you will see shortly are absolutely passionate about the humanities. They're on fire. As you will hear, each one of them is emotionally very strongly invested in the humanities and in its stake in Wake Forest and our world's future. The topics they are about to introduce provide examples of some of the very best outcomes of a humanities education, including a wondrous spirit of inquiry that, as you will hear, informs their lives and their studies. Our first panelist on the far left is Elaine Shing. Elaine is a psychology major and an anthropology minor. She is planning on entering the MD PhD program at Wake Forest to study neuroscience, and in the future hopes to become a pediatric neurologist as well as a neuroscience researcher. She credits her medical anthropology class and her studies of medical folklore for helping her to realize the tremendous importance of the humanities. Her other humanities-related activities at Wake Forest have included organizing a homelessness awareness exhibit called Homelessness is Not Faceless, and taking part in the Neuroscience and Music Collegiate Seminar with Professors Wayne Silver and Pat Dixon. Our second panelist next to her is Madeline Eckenroth. Madeline is a senior history major and chemistry minor from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. After graduation, she plans to pursue work in development with a focus on healthcare. Eventually, she would like to obtain a dual MD and MPH degree. At Wake Forest, she is editor of the student-run academic journal, the Philomathesium. Her history thesis bridges the gap between the sciences and the humanities by exploring the ways in which science has been a part of Cuba's revolutionary rhetoric. Madeline has also participated in the collegiate seminar organized by Professors Silver and Dixon on neuroscience and music. Our third panelist is Teddy Aronson. Teddy is a senior English major with minors in humanities and Middle East and South Asia studies. He hopes to teach English in Central Asia next year with long-term plans for advanced studies in Islamic studies. His senior thesis in humanities, influenced by his semester of study in the Arabic language and culture in Jordan, focuses on the interplay between faith and politics in the Quran, using the writings and thinking of Syed Qutb. Did I get that right? Thank you. Our fourth panelist is Maddie Brandenberger. Maddie is a senior economics major with minors in international development policy and anthropology. She has focused on sustainable community development in her studies, gaining experience in the developing world through her involvement in projects with the Nyanya Project and the Grameen Foundation. Following graduation, she hopes to be awarded a fellowship in Rwanda to continue her research into microbusiness and women's entrepreneurship. She will also be continuing her work on the SNAP project, an entrepreneurial social venture selling photographs that she has created to raise awareness of East African culture and socioeconomic issues. Our fifth panelist is Clint Wilson. Clint is a senior, graduating with a major in English and a minor in film studies. He is hoping to pursue a career in creative writing and filmmaking, but is also interested in continuing his critical education in literature. He is director of the Ronaldo Film Festival, a participant in the Honors in English program, and a member of the Lambda Chi Alpha fraternity. Throughout his studies at Wake Forest, Clint has grown increasingly interested in interdisciplinary studies, an area he considers part and parcel to the study of the humanities. And without further ado, let's start the panel.
Hello. How are you guys doing? Okay, I guess I really wanted to talk about the all-pervasive importance of the humanities, and I'll be speaking mostly about medical practice and science, because that's, I guess, what I know best, but I don't believe that it ends there. So as someone who has always been really passionate about science and medicine, before coming to Wake, I never really thought about the practical usefulness of the humanities. I guess, there's this stereotype on both sides that the other one is just studying that subject because, for interest, not for anything useful. But after taking medical anthropology and working extensively with the homeless population in this exam, I realized that culture and humanity and individual differences are really the driving forces behind scientific endeavors. And that is to say, we seek to create and discover new medical technologies for a reason, and that reason is to improve the human condition. And so then as researchers, the directions that we take and the decisions that we make are determined by our definition of the ideal human condition. For what are we striving? Is it good health? I think yes. Happiness, yes. Longevity, I don't know, I think there's still a debate going on about that one. But the point is that what the humanities can offer us is our different perspectives on what it is to be human and what we as humans are entitled to in terms of experience, and also in what obstacles we face, the differences in culture, values, environment, etc., as we strive to attain this ideal life experience. So then these perspectives, they define what people believe is worthy of being studied and researched. To illustrate, just yesterday I was sitting in neuroscience class, and a lecturer from the medical school came in to talk about drug addiction. And he said that a couple years ago, 2 senators reviewed all these different things that the government has been funding in terms of research. And number 20 on the list, and these are things that the senators believe we should cut, the government should cut funding for these research endeavors. And number 20th on the list was drug addiction research at Wake Forest University, the Baptist Hospital. And the researcher said, he began, with a public policy lecture, I guess, and he said, I really don't think that we should cut drug addiction research. And I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, this is so true, because think about all of the ways that drug addiction impacts society. It's economically, it impacts us economically, in terms of homelessness, also in terms of academic levels in America. And people really wouldn't, I don't know if researchers would think about this as much, or people would think about this as much if we didn't have humanities to help sort of guide how we view the human condition. So that was just something that I thought about yesterday sitting in neuroscience class. And on a related note, I want to share my vision for the humanities at Wake Forest, which is to reach out to other academic areas and to encourage interdisciplinarity. I think it's so important. Coming from a scientific background, I think a lot of students sometimes forget. They get caught up in their research interests and they forget to ask themselves, why am I doing this? How does my research really make a difference in the world? And that's where the humanities can step in and help those students and guide where their research ends up going to really make a difference and improve people's lives. And I also think that by integrating the humanities with non-humanities academic areas, we can really produce innovative, well-rounded thinkers who are really capable of going out into the world and affecting a change in the future. One thing that I was thinking about as I was reflecting on the value of the humanities, before I took my medical anthropology class last semester, I would have approached all sorts of medical cases in the same way, probably. And I didn't realize, or I didn't recognize the importance of taking culture and individual differences into account. And reading Paul Farmer's book, I hate to jump on the Paul Farmer bandwagon, but reading Paul Farmer's book, Pathologies of Power, really showed me that you can't approach medical cases in Haiti the same way that you do in middle-class America. It wouldn't be as effective. And so all of that is to say that I think that the sciences and the humanities should come together in the future of the Humanities Institute at Wake Forest. I'm not really sure how yet, besides doing book clubs and lecture seminars. But I think that would be really useful for students in both camps. So, yeah.
Okay, like Elaine, I also have interest in the sciences and plan on pursuing medicine eventually as a career. And so I think the sciences will usually be instrumental and tools for an end, whereas the humanities attempt to investigate the ends or purposes humans have assigned to the life of being a human. The humanities explore purpose and also, in many instances, death. In investigating both, the hope is that the student will come away with a sense of humaneness, which I think is similar to Kant's idea that people must be seen as ends in themselves, and that's a really powerful idea, I think. And humanities teaches us to question ends and to discern which ends sustain humanity and which ends are harmful to humanity. And so that sort of inquiry is difficult a lot of times, but it involves inquiry into the humanities and into the objects of the humanities, like plays, novels, histories, and poems. They need to be consulted to figure out who we are as humans, what we're doing, what our ends should be, and those shouldn't be discounted, and those should be part of the education of every person. And I kind of want to give some concrete examples of how my study of the humanities has been personally beneficial. I've studied narrative here, and in the study of narrative, the idea of types comes up, and there are types in literature, and we all could name probably a dozen really easily off the top of our heads, types we see in movies. And so my further study of this has kind of led me to think that if we learn about these different types,